was just so lucky that I have the most amazing wife in the world, and she put up with my baloney for the last 10 years.
1, 2, 3.
10 down freeway.
Welcome to the Dave Jonze Podcast.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dave Jonze Podcast. So let's get started here. This is the Dave Jonze Show. This is a podcast in which I can air my frustrations, I can talk about the things that I want to, and I want to have conversations with people. I don't necessarily want to hear myself talk. I would like to get a hold of somebody, have some conversations on whatever it is that you are interested in. I don't care if we have an online phone call. I don't even care if we're in a coffee shop. I would like to get together and see what is important to them, whether it be politics, religion, marriage, or the lack of those three things and how it is good or bad. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with this podcast. I just need your help to show me where to go. Who is Dave Jonze? Dave Jonze, first off, is a libertarian. He wants to be left alone. Dave Jonze is just another truck driver on the road that you're cutting off in the middle of the freeway. First thing I'd like to talk about, just because it's pressing on my heart, and I've recently found a new love for my marriage, we can go ahead and talk about that. So over the past 10 years, I've been married to one very beautiful woman. This woman we met very young. We got married within a couple of years, and then we had another child on top of the two that we brought to our marriage. When it comes to marriage, I never said it was going to be easy. I never thought it would be easy. But I did not truly know how difficult that it would be, given my own mindset. When it comes to our mindsets, we have to pay attention to what we're thinking and how we're feeling. Those feelings will come up on you and bite you whether you like it or not. Now with myself, I've had to do a lot of research within myself. Now that's difficult to do. You can't just put it into Google. You can't just look it up in a book. You have to think about it. And thinking is not something that we have been very good about in this time and culture. My wife would tell me all the different things that I was doing wrong. I would do nothing more than sulk. I thought I would do really well, and I would, for just about a week or two, and we went through this cycle for years. Then last year, I decided to go ahead and do another 30-day juice fast. We went ahead and went up into 45 days. About halfway through, I started to notice that my marriage was in shambles. It was possibly going downhill, and Lord forbid, headed for the horrible D word. Now, if there was one thing that I did right in my marriage, was before we got married. I told my wife, if there is one thing that is not going to happen in my marriage is divorce. Divorce is not an option. If we get married, we cannot get divorced. We are married until death. Now, luckily with that, maybe that's why she stayed with such a miserable person like myself. There are lots of complications that happen throughout our years, but we've stayed together, and she stayed with me, and I tell you, I was a horrible person to be around. I was not a happy person whatsoever. I would come home, and I would be cranky with my wife, I would be cranky with my kids. Now, even to this day, I do tend to come home and be cranky for a few minutes, and I am not a perfect person, and I don't mean to be a preacher. I'm just saying, if I would have figured this out 10 years ago, maybe I would be a little bit better off today. I wouldn't have had to fight so hard for my life and my wife to continue as it has continued for the past 10 years, not as well as it could have been if I had thought about it and figured out who I was. Because halfway through this juice fast, I realized I did not know who I was. I know who I wanted to be. I wanted to support the family. I wanted to be able to be the bread maker. And you know what? So far I have been. But what does that matter if you are making the people around you miserable? Basically, I figured out that I was dwelling on all the little things that really don't matter all that much. I have told my wife many a times over the past few years, you know what? Things are harsh, but I'm okay, you're okay, my kids are okay, our dogs are okay, Everybody is okay, and that's how we will continue to be, even though it is hard. I never actually listened to myself when I talked about that. When you're telling someone else or you're giving someone else advice, but you're not taking it yourself, is it really worth their time to listen to it? Because you are not displaying what you are preaching. Now, I wasn't sure at first how to start this rebuild of my marriage. Now, I went ahead and tried the fake it till you make it. That did work for me. I don't know if that's going to work for you. Now, when I say fake it till you make it, some people might think, well, then it's not true love now, is it? Well, you know what, sweetheart? I got something to tell you. Love is not important. When you love someone who is being nice to you, love what makes love beautiful. Beautiful love is loving someone despite that you do not like them. Treating them better than you are being treated by that person. That should be the ultimate goal. Am I treating my wife better than she is treating me? Her thought could be, am I treating my husband better than he is treating me? If everyone, not in competition as in, I treat you better, but as in, the better I treat them, the better they treat me. If you guys are constantly trying to improve yourselves so you can be perfect, impossible thing to do, obviously. No one is perfect. We all have our faults. But I faked it and I made it. I'm still making it. There is no end game here. Death is the end game. Now, the fake it till you make it, this is an interesting concept when it comes to the way it happened with me. At first, I knew there had to be a change, so I just started implementing some of the things that my wife had told me over the past few years. You need to be happier. So I tried to be happy. I used everything I could. I used a little bit of alcohol, a ton of caffeine. I got myself all pepped up, psyched up, and ready to go. Bad things would happen. I would feel myself being drugged down. But I'd tell myself, no depression here. You cannot do this. Needless to say, some people do need medications, and that is fine, and that is perfectly acceptable. But I do not like taking medications. They affect the way my brain works, and I don't like being stuck in a box. So I went straight to the caffeine, which, trust me, that is a drug as well as alcohol, which I tried both, and I used them intermediately as something to give me a little bit of extra push. At first, I know I love my wife, and I wanted to show her that, so I just simply started smiling and trying to have a good time. I started dancing a lot, which is kind of humorous because I'm a truck driver, not a backup dancer, and I'm horrible at it. Some people may even say I suck. So anyway, starting with the dancing and messing around, being goofy, and giving her little tickles here and there just to let her know that I'm still there. Coming up and giving her some love on the shoulder and just telling her that I love her. It was great. As I was doing this and I was giving her positive influences and showing her that I loved her, she started to return the favor, whether knowledgeable or unknowingly. She was giving me more attention. She was giving me more love, and it was awesome. I absolutely loved it. Now with that, in return, I found myself actually wanting more to give her exactly what she was wanting, and I started to ask her a little bit more on what she was wanting. Now with this, I also started something else. So now, after about a month of starting my juice fast, and then 2 weeks or so of trying to get my relationship back to where it needed to be, so that way we didn't end up in divorce, I started thinking, how can I show her in a way that I love her more often so that way she feels secured in our relationship? Well, I thought about leaving her a love note. I thought that would be a great idea. It's kind. It's a lost art form, the handwritten love notes. No one does it anymore. I don't know why not. We still have pens, we still have papers, but everybody wants to use tech. Well, I found out that there's multi-packs of blank cards. Why not? So I went ahead and I bought some. I wrote her the first one, and then right after that I had more thoughts that I wanted to put on paper for her. So I went ahead and wrote another one right after that. I went as far as to get her this cute little mailbox. It just so happened to be around Valentine's. So I got her this cute little mailbox with all these wonderful little sparkly hearts and stuff all over it. I put it up on a shelf next to bed and I pointed it out to her. I went ahead and slid the notes in there and said, anytime you need a pick-me-up, this is where you can get it. Now, as I went through doing this, I started to think, what is Valentine's? And I have one of the opinions that is quite broad across the U.S., it seems. Why is Valentine's so important it seems like a made-up holiday? Well, why is it that I have to show my love once a year? Shouldn't I show my love all year round? Now, with this in mind, while I'm writing these love notes to my wife, I decided that I am committed to my wife. I should write one of these to her, at least one of these to her every single day. Now, after about the third day, I was feeling more of an obligation to do this, so I had to stop myself and think, what is it that I am doing here? And instead of writing her just a love note, I just wrote her a note, letting her know some of the thoughts and feelings that I've had throughout the day. Now I still continue this. It's not necessarily a love note every day. Sometimes I just share a little joke that I've thought of with her. Sometimes I write her poetry. Sometimes I just want to let her know something that I was thinking of throughout the day as to keep our conversation going. Make sure, because sometimes in this modern time, you work, you come home, you go to sleep, you do a workout, hopefully, because I feel a lot better after a workout. I found out that I even eat better when I work out. When I don't work out, I freak out. I've got some issues with food, and that's one of the reasons I did the fast, to kind of reset my body and get my body weight back to a reasonable non-Jabba-the-Hutt size. And with all your day-to-day stuff going on, it tends to be hard to have that sit-down conversation, which I try to do as much as I can now. And before, sometimes I would come home and not even see my wife for a while until she comes downstairs and she wakes up or whatever. Now I make it a point to go see her and see how her day was and have a full conversation. But even then, though, sometimes you don't always get everything to the other person that you want. So now I make sure I use these love notes. I make sure that she knows that I care, and I let her know information about myself so she feels that she knows me better as a person. Now with that, sometimes she does not read the notes that day. Sometimes they stack up a week at a time or maybe even more. That is okay, because this, even though I started it for her, this has ended up being something for me, to let me know that I am doing what I can to show her that I love her. And then when things come up, maybe it's easier for me to address things in written form versus verbal form. This may not work for you. This may not be something for you. It is a thought. This may not be for you. This may not be something for you to do for your loved one. I'm just going to put it out there. If you think this is a good thing for you, the one thing that you have to do is you have to remember this is something out of love. This is not an obligation. This is not something you have to do. That's what makes this so beautiful. And sometimes in relationships, we boil it down and we think we have to be with this person. No, you don't have to be with that person. You are more than welcome to be alone. Will you be better off if you were alone? I do not believe so. I am a firm believer in marriage. But thinking that you have to be with someone is not the way to think of it. You get to be with that person. That person deserves the best of you. And if you are not going to give the best of you to that person, there is no reason for them to stick around with you. I was just so lucky that I have the most amazing wife in the world, and she put up with my baloney for the last 10 years, regardless of whether I was happy-go-lucky, I was having a good time, or I was so dang cranky that I ruined the best vacation we could have had in our entire marriage. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe this is a good start to get us going on the Dave Jonze Show. I hope that you enjoyed what you hear today. If you have any questions, any concerns, if you would like to have a conversation, please feel free to get a hold of me on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever it is that you can. Let me know you want to have a conversation, and I will be more than willing to oblige, providing our schedules match. Remember, when looking for Dave Jonze, that is Jonze, Jonze. That is Dave Jonze, Jonze. Remember, not affiliated with Davy Jones. Keep in mind, I'm just a truck driver. Thank you. Dave Jonze signing off.
Chloe.